A Wish Upon a Star Twilight Fanfiction Audio Edward and Bella Story, Part 1. There he goes again. There he goes again. When will he ever realize he had enough girls for a lifetime? Probably never. Bella. Edward just is that way. He's a ladies' man. Cute, funny, smart, strong, totally gorgeous. I could see Jessica was dreaming about him too. Come on, Jess, you can't seriously like that. It's a he, Bella. Jessica cut me off. And his name's Edward. And yeah, I actually do like him. Is that so wrong? Absolutely, Jessica. He already dated you once. You know he doesn't do second dates. Bella, don't be so negative. He's a great guy. I rolled my eyes at her. Come on, you can't possibly be serious. Look at him. You went out with him last Friday, and already we've seen him with 3 other girls. Why can't you just forget about him? One day, Bella, he will realize he loves me, she said with an arrogant tone and started eating her lunch. I just sighed. I wouldn't bring it up again. Jessica obviously wasn't over Edward. But he, obviously, was way over Jessica. I couldn't believe this school. Every girl wanted Edward. Every guy thought he was some kind of god or something. What did he ever do to you, anyway? What is it why you hate him so much? Jessica asked me. I didn't see this coming. It's just he totally is. Well, he's just I just don't like him. I finished. That could have been said better. Aha, I totally get it, Jessica said with a totally sarcastic voice. The truth is, nobody actually knew why I hated Edward so much. Nobody knew our past. When Edward and I were like 4 years old, we lived in the same street and we were the best friends. But the older we got, the less he seemed to care about me. I think he doesn't even know my name anymore. You know, whatever it is, get over it, Jessica said. I just rolled my eyes at her and got up. I had to go to class anyway. I'm gonna go to biology, I said. She, too, got up and followed me. You know, you're gonna have to get over it eventually when him and I are totally in love, she said. I hate to break this to you, Jessica, but you and him will never be totally in love. In fact, I doubt that he'll ever be in love with anyone besides himself. Oh, Bella, stop being such a pessimist. Why can't you just be supportive of him and me? Jessica, there is no you and him. I could see Jessica was totally annoyed by me now. There will be, she said. Believe me, he will love me, you know. Sure, Jessica, and you'll get married when you two graduate and have lots of kids. Don't act like that, Bella. Please. I could see I had really hurt her now. Okay. I'm sorry, Jessica. I'll better get to class now. Yeah, me too, she said and walked away. I simply walked to the biology classroom. I walked to my spot, right next to Angela, and smiled at her. I liked Angela. She was a little shy, but not as obsessed with Edward Cullen as the rest of the school. So we could talk about other things than him. More serious things. Just then, Mr. Hall appeared, our biology teacher. Hello, kids. Today we're going to start working on a new project. You'll have to work in pairs. Everyone started to point at each other and already started making pairs. Don't bother, kids, I already chose who will work with who. He unfolded a piece of paper and started telling us who will work with each other. I could see almost every girl looking hopefully at Edward. I just listened at Mr. Hall, waiting for my name. Edward Cullen and Bella Swan, Angela Weber, and I stopped listening. What? I must have heard it wrong. I raised my hand when he was finished. Yes, Bella, I'm sorry, Mr. Hall, but I don't think I've heard you correctly. With who will I be working? Mr. Hall gave a quick glance at the piece of paper with the names on it. You will be working with Mr. Cullen, Miss Swan. I had to remind myself how to breathe when he said that. No, this couldn't be true. The project will go on for 2 weeks. I expect everyone to do their best. Now go sit with your partner and I will hand you a paper, which will explain the project entirely. Angela gave me a look which was filled with compassion and then went to sit with her partner. Edward walked towards me. Well, hi there, Bella Swan. Haven't talked to you in a while, he simply said, like he hadn't tried to cut me out of his life. Sure, whatever. Listen, Edward, I take school seriously. I need a good grade for biology. I will not let you ruin this project, I said to him. Wow, hold on a minute. Who said anything about me ruining this project for you? Of course I will do my best. And if that isn't good enough for you, then bite me. Fine, whatever, Edward. I'm just saying I need a good grade. I know you couldn't care less, but I actually want to pass this year. I expected him to start arguing, but he didn't. Instead, he just gave me a dazzling smile and nodded. Again, I had to remind myself how to breathe, but now for an entirely different reason. Edward, I'm sorry. It's just that I started, but Edward cut me off. I understand. You think I'm some sort of stupid, arrogant guy who doesn't care about his school and will try to ruin your project, and with that, your chances to pass this school year. He just kept smiling as he said that. I mean, I still didn't like him, but I did start to feel guilty. I'm sorry, Edward. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. Let me just prove to you that you were wrong though. My place. After school. I'll give you a ride. I sighed. Edward, I'm not some sort of chick you can date once and then ignore. He rolled his eyes. That's not what I meant. I meant we could work on the project. And other homework too, if you have some. I'd be happy to help you if that's what you need. What was he thinking? That I would be in heaven if he would help me. That I had been waiting for him to talk to me again since he completely started ignoring me years ago. Then he was completely wrong. Thanks for the offer, Edward. But I don't need your help. Fine. Just to work on the project then. He suggested. The bell rang, so I just nodded and gathered my stuff. Good. I'll see you in the parking lot after school. You know which car is mine, right? A Volvo. Yeah, I know, Edward. It's the car where all the girls will be standing. I completely froze after I said that and started blushing like crazy. I couldn't believe I said that. But apparently he didn't mind me saying that. He just laughed, said, "Bye, Bella," and turned around to walk away. Bella, Jessica sighed. I'm waiting. Waiting for what? I said, a little distracted. I was reading the text we had to memorize for history. It was a lot, and it was really hard. But apparently Jessica couldn't care less about the history text. Waiting for an explanation from you, in case you hadn't figured that out yet. This time I looked up to face her. I saw how impatient she was. An explanation? For what? For the fact there's a rumor going around the school, saying that you're Edward Cullen's new victim. I could tell she didn't like to call it that way, since she had been one of his victims too. In fact, people are actually saying you'll be going with him to his house after school. Now tell me, what's going on between you and Edward Cullen? She demanded. I had to admit, normally I would find it funny if people were spreading rumors about me, but this time I most definitely did not like it. Jessica, come on, you of all people must know better. You know I hate Edward. She just rolled her eyes as I said this. I could tell she wasn't going to be convinced easily. Jessica was a true gossip fan. Every rumor was, according to her, truth. Or something very close to the truth. Come on, Bella. I mean, you say you don't like Edward. But maybe you're just jealous of me and him. I had to try really hard not to say, there is no you and him. But I knew that wouldn't help anything. So I just let that one go. And I mean, maybe you've always wanted to date him, in spite of what you're telling all of us, and maybe even yourself too. The rumor must be based on something. Jessica went on. Fine. Jessica, you want to know what happened? What happened is that I have a stupid biology project, and guess what? Yeah, I have to do it with Edward. Yes, Edward Cullen, I added when I saw her disbelief. So today I'm going over to his house to work on the project together. Now if you would just let it go, I'd really appreciate it. With that I just turned my face to the history book and started reading the text. I could feel that Jessica wanted to say something, but she, too, knew that it wouldn't matter. I wouldn't listen to her anyway. I sighed in relief when I saw her also looking at the history book. Making it look like she was studying, but I knew she was just pretending. Finally, I thought to myself, when I saw Edward standing in front of his car, I closed my eyes, took a deep breath and walked toward him. When he saw me coming to him, he smiled a brilliant smile. Well, hello again, Bella. How was your day? He asked me. He seemed sincere, but I knew he was a good actor. This would probably all be an act to annoy me as much as possible. You don't have to act to polite, Edward. I know you don't care. Let's just get this over with. I sighed and stepped in the car, as he opened the door for me. That bad, huh? he asked, as he sat next to me. He knew I wasn't going to answer, so he just went on. And actually, Miss Swan, you're wrong again. I do care. But since you are unwilling to let your opinion on me change, I won't ask you any more about your day, if you prefer that. He started the car and heading for his house. His family moved 3 years ago, away from our block. I had never been there, but people said it was supposed to be a fantastic house. Huge and apparently very gorgeous. Of course, I knew Esme was amazing at decorating houses, so that shouldn't surprise me. And they had enough money. Yes, I prefer that. I'd rather you just don't talk to me, unless it's related to our project. I knew this sounded a bit harsh, but I didn't want to be nice to him. I still hated him. He was still as arrogant as he was before. If that's what you like. Yes, that's what I like, I said. Apparently, we were at his house. He stopped right in front of it. The stories had been right after all. The house was gigantic. I wanted to open the door, but Edward beat me to it. He already was outside, in front of my door, opening it for me. I sighed and got out of the car. He closed the door and locked the car. "Welcome to our home," he said, and he showed me to the door. When I walked in the house, I could see Esme had outdone herself. The house was beautiful on the inside. "Edward," I heard someone call. "Is that you, Esme?" She appeared in the doorway to what I think was the kitchen. "Esme, I think you remember Bella Swan." Edward said to Esme. "Of course," Esme said in an enthusiastic voice. "Welcome, Bella. How have you been?" Esme was still a very nice person. I had always liked her. She was a very beautiful woman, and you couldn't believe she had 3 children. Edward had a brother and a sister, Emmett and Alice. Emmett was older than I was, but he, too, was a very popular guy at school. Though he wasn't such an arrogant guy as Edward, I hardly ever spoke to him. Alice, however, was a friend of mine, until she went to boarding school a few years ago. "Fine, thanks Esme. The house is beautiful. I've never seen it before." Esme smiled as I said this. "Thanks Bella. I decorated it myself." "Well, you're still very good at it," I said, and she smiled. "Is Edward home, Esme?" someone asked, coming down the stairs. "Which chick is he dating this time?" I recognized the voice, though I couldn't tell who it was. Edward said, "I'm not dating anyone." At the same time Esme said, "Well actually," then I could see who it was. "Alice," I said, shocked about who I was seeing. "Oh my, Bella." She gave me a big hug. "It's so good to see you again. I missed you." It felt good seeing her again. And when I thought about it, I had really missed her too. "Yeah, I know, I missed you too. But you're back in town." "For how long?" "Yes, I came back yesterday. I moved back here. Starting next week, I'll be going to the same school as you again." I couldn't help but hug her again. "Alice, that's amazing." "Yes, and I've brought someone else you should meet." She said that in a very mysterious voice. "Who?" "My boyfriend." I stared at her in shock. She had a boyfriend. Wow. I had to tell myself to close my mouth. I thought Edward must have had it hard trying to hide his laugh, but I didn't want to look at him to see if I was right. "You have a boyfriend? Who?" Just when I asked it, a very good-looking guy walked in. Alice's face lit, and I saw a smile appear on her face. "Him," she said, and the boy stepped next to her, putting his arm around her waist. "Bella, this is my boyfriend, Jasper." "Jasper, this is Bella. She's an old friend of mine." Jasper and I shook hands. Alice had done well. He was absolutely gorgeous. But I thought I didn't have to tell Alice that. She probably knew. "So, how did you two meet?" They told me a long story about how they met. It was actually pretty funny, and really sweet. When they were done telling me, they just looked at each other. I could see they really liked, or loved, each other. "Actually, it's pretty funny," Alice started. "Emmett and Edward came to visit me once, and they met Jasper too. Jasper introduced them to his sister, Rosalie, and, well, one thing led to another, and now Emmett and Rosalie can't stay away from each other." We all had to laugh about that. Well, can't say we were surprised. I mean, Rosalie is a really nice girl, and she's gorgeous too. And we all know how Emmett reacts to beautiful girls. I laughed again. After catching up with Alice again, Edward suggested we'd go upstairs to work on the project. I nodded and followed him upstairs, looking at the house. Then he stopped in front of a door. Well, this is my room. He opened the door and I stepped inside. I looked around. His room was kinda big. And he had this huge stereo, and loads of CDs. There was a couch in here, too. I had to admit, his room was pretty cool. I actually liked it. There was nothing really weird in it. But I changed that thought when I saw a picture frame in the corner. There was a picture in it of me and Edward as little kids, holding hands. And in front of it there was a note. Edward. That was all you could see on the folded piece of paper. Obviously the note was written to him. He didn't steal it or anything. So what do you think? Edward saw Eid, and he brought me back to reality. Again, I quickly looked around the room, like I hadn't seen the strangest thing ever, and turned around to face him. It's nice, was all I said. He just smiled and closed the door. I turned around again to look at the picture. Why did he have a picture of me and him on his room? Maybe he used to have it there. I thought, when we were still friends. Maybe he's too lazy to take it away. That could be true. But then I realized he had moved since we were friends. And it seems really odd to put it there again. Maybe Alice put it there. I asked myself. I nodded. That could most definitely be true. Alice was also a great decorizer. Guess where she got it from? And it could be possible Edward asked her to decorate his room. Maybe she found the picture and just put it there. That was one mystery cleared up, but what was the note about? Maybe we should start with the project now then. Edward saw Eid with a voice with impatience in it, a little annoyance and worry. Oh right, yeah we should. The rest of the time I was at the Cullens' house, we worked on the project. I never knew he was actually good at biology. Okay, that's an understatement. He was a genius when it came to biology. We worked really fast, since he knew all the answers. Of course, we could have worked a little faster if he wouldn't insist on me trying to say every answer before he said the correct one. Edward, I think I have to go home now. It's getting pretty late. Edward looked at the clock and nodded. Yeah, I think so too. We went downstairs. First of course, I searched for Alice, but when I couldn't see her I just forgot about it. I'd see her pretty soon again, anyway. I headed for the door, but before I could get outside Esme stepped in front of me. Leaving, Bella, she said with a huge smile. Yeah it's getting pretty late. I answered her. I wondered if Esme ever dropped the smile. Oh, I suppose that's true. Well, Edward will give you a ride home then. Oh no, that's really not. I insist on it, and so does Edward. Don't you Edward? She looked at Edward now and I took a deep breath. Plus, I bet he gave you a ride before, so otherwise you'd have to walk home, and that's definitely not going to happen. I just couldn't believe how she apparently could smile 24/7. It was already hard for me to smile in the first place. Don't worry about it Bella. I don't mind giving you a ride home. Edward spoke again. He grabbed the keys and opened the door for me. Well, okay then. Bye Esme, thanks for everything. Oh, never mind dear. It was my pleasure. This time I forced myself to smile at her and then went outside. Edward opened the car door for me and I got in the car. Though I didn't like to ride with Edward, I did have to confess the seat was very comfortable. And it smelled nice. But still, it was not something I really wanted. Edward sat next to me. We drove in silence to my house. He didn't say anything at all. Which, I thought was really weird. Edward usually has this smooth talking going on. Especially with the ladies. But then again, when has he ever showed any interest in me? After we were best friends and all that. Never. That's when. Thanks for the ride Edward. And with the biology and stuff. I said when we arrived at my house. You're welcome. Like Esme said before, it was my pleasure. He gave me that dazzling smile again, then waved and drove away. I tried my best not to look back when I drove away. I barely managed to do that, and I had this very annoying feeling in my stomach. I had noticed when Bella was looking at the picture of us too. It was a really cute picture, and it reminded me of the good old days when I had absolutely nothing to worry about. When I had no stupid reputation to keep up. Truth to be told, I absolutely hated it to date all those different girls. I'd rather have just one girlfriend. But as I grew older, People started to expect me to be some kind of date expert. Every night a different date. And I hadn't let them down. But I did let myself down. Deep down, I knew this wasn't who I wanted to be. The feeling in my stomach grew bigger as I thought of the note that I kept with the picture. Her note. Sometimes I reread it, feeling the guilt all over again. Experiencing the stupidity again. I couldn't believe what I had done. Especially after my afternoon with Bella. Esme and Alice apparently still adored her. Which wasn't that weird, considering how nice and cute and funny she is. And I could almost hear Jasper saying this one's a keeper, Edward. She's actually the first one of your dates and apparently Alice, like. And he was totally right. I knew it. I got out of the car and walked to the house. It had been so much fun talking to Bella again. Hanging out with her again. Though I could just feel the hate of her towards me, she was still incredibly nice. I didn't deserve that after what I did. I walked up the stairs, hoping Alice wouldn't notice me being home again after my afternoon with Bella. But as I opened the door to my room, I could see that was going to be impossible. Alice, I said with a tone indicating to Alice that she should leave immediately. That wasn't going to happen either. Edward, she replied, and went to sit on my bed. I sat next to her. After about 5 minutes Alice couldn't hold it any longer. So when are you going to tell me about your afternoon with Bella? I thought you two weren't even friends anymore. We aren't. We just had the amazing luck to have to work with each other. We have to do a biology project together. She was just here to work on that. Nothing happened. Nothing was going to happen. We're not even friends. I got really impatient now. I just wanted Alice to leave. I needed to be alone for a second. You don't have to be friends first to become more than friends. She simply said. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing, so I just ignored it. Besides, if you two aren't friends anymore, why do you have a picture of you two on your room? I was already opening my mouth to defend myself when I realized I had absolutely nothing to defend myself with. Everything I could say was going to make me sound like a complete freak. Just leave, Alice, I said instead, and she left with a huge smile. It was the stupid I know all smile I really hated. I lay on my bed for a couple of minutes and then walked to the picture. I took it in my hand and stroked my finger over it. Then I put it down again and picked up the note. Edward, I don't know what's going on with you, but I miss you a lot. Please talk to me again. You are acting so weird. Is it about me? I mean, I thought you said we would be friends forever. And that we would marry someday. You did mean that. Because I love you, Eddie. Lots of kisses, Bella. BPOV BPOV. School could be so boring sometimes. I already had a few classes but I couldn't concentrate in any of them. I didn't even know what the teachers were talking about. All I could think of was yesterday, when Edward and I had spoken again. He had actually been really nice. But to tell you the truth, that scared me more than anything else. Even spiders and snakes couldn't top that. It scared me because I knew his reputation. I knew what he had done in the past. And I was afraid of having to go through the same thing if I started to like him again. So I just had to save myself from liking him. Class dismissed. The teacher said. I got up real quickly and gathered my books. Lunch, finally. I was supposed to meet Jessica at the entrance of the cafeteria, but she wasn't the only one who was waiting there. I saw Jessica, acting really nervous, and standing next to her was Edward. I think he must have been waiting for Emmett, or some of his other friends. I could see Jessica, trying to think of things she could say to him. After all, he was supposed to be the love of her life. As soon as Edward noticed me he straightened up. I acted like I didn't notice, though, and focused on Jessica. Hey Jess. EHM, hey Bella. I smiled at her. I could hear she was so nervous, and what for? Just because she was standing next to some guy. EHM, shall we get some lunch? I asked her. She just nodded. I think she wasn't capable of saying anything. We walked inside. I could feel Edward's eyes on my back, but I tried to ignore them. Jessica and I got our lunch and went to sit at our usual table. I can't believe I just stood next to Edward for about 5 whole minutes. And I didn't say a word. Arg, I am the most stupid person in the world. How could I be so dumb? I choose to ignore her. Seriously Bella, this is beyond stupid. I pretended I didn't hear her again. I liked it much better that way. I didn't need to hear her whining about Edward. I've had enough of that guy. Unfortunately, that guy didn't seem to agree. Since he was coming over here, I could see Jessica quickly trying to do her hair and she sat up straight. I, on the other hand, just stayed how I was. Hey Edward, Jessica said with a stupid grin, convinced he came over here to talk to her. Hey. Bella, I was wondering if I could talk to you. He said. I could see Jessica's face fall apart. It's about the biology project. He added. I just nodded and followed him to outside the cafeteria. I could hear his friends yelling something at Edward, but I couldn't hear exactly what it was. So, what is it, Edward? Spit it out. I acted impatiently. And I was, in one way. I didn't want to be here, standing, talking to Edward. But on the other hand, I loved it. It was like me and Edward were finally reunited. But that's not what it is. I had to keep myself reminding that. Bella, he didn't seem able to finish his sentence. Which reminded me, I didn't want to talk to him. I had to leave. Edward, is this really about biology? I asked him. He doubted, and then shook his head. But Bella, there is something that. Then I don't want to talk to you, Edward. He seemed a little hurt by my words, but then he put himself together again. I understand Bella, but. No, but. I don't want to talk to you, Edward. You can talk to me if it's about biology and that stupid project. But other than that, I don't want you to talk to me ever again. I want you to act like I never existed. Which you did very nice just a few days ago. But Bella, I really want to. No, Edward, I don't want that, I said. We were both quiet for a while. I have to go now, Edward. Bye. I turned around and walked away. I didn't want to sit with Jessica again, but since I had no other place to go to I did it anyway. Hey Jess. Bella, what was that all about? She demanded. I tried to not roll my eyes, but I didn't succeed. Nothing, Jessica, nothing at all. It was just about that stupid biology project. Nothing else. Let it go. Bella, I cannot just let it go when you're having a little rendezvous with my boyfriend. Jessica, he is not your boyfriend. He doesn't want you. Forget about the stupid guy. He's a moron. Find someone else. Try Mike, or something. Mike, seriously, you want me to date Mike? After I dated Edward, that's like eating a chocolate pudding, but then decide that you want oatmeal. Besides, Edward and I will be a couple very soon. I already have a strategy in mind. I sighed and was happy to hear the bell. Even though I would have to work with Edward again, I didn't want to be with Jessica any longer. She was completely driving me crazy. I'm a go, Jess. Bye. Bella. Wait, she said. But it was too late, I already left. I hoped Edward wouldn't try to talk to me again. I had explained him exactly how I felt about him, but Edward would probably just forget about it. I got to my seat and tried not to think about Edward, which was impossible. I saw his smiling face everywhere. I remembered yesterday, when I had seen Alice again, with that boyfriend of hers. And Esme. They were all really nice. Why wasn't Edward more like them? Thankfully, Edward had thought of what I had said before, since he just sat next to me, nodded, and then turned around. I sighed in relief. I didn't want anything to do with him. As soon as this project was over, everything would go back to normal and I could go back to hating Edward. Mr. Hall complimented me and Edward on our work, saying it really good and above expectation. I was guessing he meant me, since Edward apparently always got straight A's in biology. He told us he knew something we could do for extra credits, if we were interested. I immediately said yes, thinking I could use that. He explained us the whole thing. And it involves a lot of teamwork. Good luck with it, and he handed us the papers with our instructions. Edward and I looked at each other. So, Edward started. My place, after school again. I guess we need the time. I hated to do this, but he was right. We needed the time. I quickly tried to read all the instructions again, not knowing exactly what it all meant. But I knew one thing. Edward and I would be spending a lot of time together the next 2 weeks. EPOV. So do you get that? I requested her carefully. I didn't need her to yell at me again, once became sufficient. She sighed. I think so. However, this is all simply I hate it. She sighed again. We have been in my room again. each sitting on my big bed. When she walked in my room today, I saw her eyes fast flash on the corner where the image of both folks were a few days in the past. However, once I found out she must have seen it, I quickly took it away. I could see now that that wasn't a great idea. It simplest made her greater curious. I checked out Bella, and in reality seemed. She had fantastic eyes. Her pores and skin turned into very faded, however it perfect her. I realized speedy shad she became manner more stunning than some other lady I have ever dated. It was surely quite ironic if you notion about it. She was the only I desired to, and must, be my female friend. However, she was the primary I had ever let go. Nowadays it was Friday. It changed into 5 ago. Bella and I were assigned to the challenge together. 5 whole days. That intended 5 afternoons with Bella. Of path, the one's afternoons will be loads greater a laugh if she did not hate me, but nonetheless, somehow it felt accurate spending time with Bella once more. Like this was faith, her and me. That venture turned into a present dispatched from heaven. After she yelled at me on Tuesday, I in no way spoke to right here again, besides at some point of biology or while she turned into at my vicinity, running on the venture. Today she additionally added some other homework I could assist her with. I may want to inform she did not adore it that I had to help her. However, to be sincere, I loved it that she wanted me. Perhaps this was the start of something beautiful. I felt like I needed to throw up right after I notioned that. Yuck, that turned into any such cliché. Yeah, nicely. It could be a piece elaborate. However, this is a beginning. Although I instructed her, she blushed a touch bit. She usually regarded so adorable whilst she did that. Well, thanks anyway. Even though I do not get it in any respect. You are a great instructor. It's because you're such a precise pupil. She blushed again and I smiled at her. Appearance, Edward. I suppose I should move now. Oh proper. She got up. So did I, but after about 2 steps, she already tripped. I catched her in my palms. Oh, I am so sorry, Edward. She stated, and her face straightway became purple once more. I used to be still maintaining her, now not looking to permit her pass. BPOV. He flashed me that astonishing smile once more, and that I felt a bit weak. No longer a problem, he said, his fingers nevertheless round me, but I didn't thoughts. I had to admit I virtually favored being held like this by using a person as good looking as he is. I appeared as much as his face, and that I regarded in his eyes. I were given a tickling feeling in my belly. For 5 seconds, this was wherein I wanted to be, this felt true and right. Like the entirety fell into area, simply me and Edward, subsequently returned collectively again. Prevent it, I told myself. You don't need him. I remembered myself of the last time he left me. It hurt simply to reflect on consideration on it once more, but I had to. This changed into wrong. Edward sensed my exchange of feelings and fast permit pass. I supposed you have to pass domestic then. Oh proper. I amassed my books and positioned them in my bag. I left his room and went downstairs. In which, of course, I ran into Alice. In which do you believe you studied your going, Bella? She requested me. Home. Recollect, I do not stay right here. No way, Bella. I'm in the end domestic again and we want to catch up. We're having a sleepover tonight. You're staying right here. However, Charlie, I already organized it with Charlie. Your bag is upstairs, in my room. Now, include me. We've a few catching as much as do I might say. I observed her lower back upstairs. I assumed she turned into proper. I wanted to listen all about her and Jasper, and all her different testimonies. Wow, you truly took care of the whole thing. I stated, as my eyes took within the extra mattress she put down, my suitcase within the corner and the whole lot else she had accomplished for our sleepover. Now come on. We handiest have an hour till Esme has dinner geared up. Spill, Alice said, and he or she looked at me. She became looking ahead to me to mention something. The only hassle turned into that I did not realize what. Spill what? I do not know what you are speak me approximately. Alice just rolled her eyes like I was lacking something obvious. I am speak me about you and my brother. Duh, like what passed off. Edward Said, you two went from quality to hating every different. And now you're heading closer to boyfriend and girlfriend. I need to warn you, he is the arena's largest player. Ooh, Alice. We're definitely not boyfriend and female friend. Yet, Alice said. She saw how mad I checked out her, however that did not scare her. Move on. Tell me. Well, when you left, you idea Edward and that I had been nevertheless getting alongside properly. However the truth became, we never spent time anymore. We barely stated hello to each different once I saw him inside the hallway. It commenced while we have been more youthful. He omitted me, and we have been little kids. I wrote him this silly note, asking what was incorrect with him. Why he didn't communicate to me anymore. I paused, remembering the respond he had sent me. He wrote something again. Something approximately that he didn't want to speak to me anymore. That he didn't need to be buddies with me anymore. That he thought I was nice, however that I wasn't popular enough for him. What a jerk. This is truly my brother. I'll beat him up right now. Jasper will help me. I understand he's going to. By no means mind Alice. I am over it. All of it passed off a long time ago. It is in the past. I recognize, however, it's so bizarre. I mean, seeing you two again, like this had by no means occurred. I see the way Edward seems at you, it's like kindergarten all yet again. I'm pretty sure he likes you, Bella. Oh Alice, we each recognize it really is not genuine. He's just being quality. We've got this stupid biology project together. It's loads of work, but it is suitable for my grade. He's without a doubt a pretty smart. I never knew that. Besides, I'm certain he hates me as a great deal as I hate him. Alice rolled her eyes again. However, Esme known as for us, it become dinner time. Alice and that I went downstairs, only to locate a very bold over Edward. We're not you want, going home half an hour in the past. No, stupid. We are having a sleepover. Bella's staying here for the weekend. Edward looked, I dunno what he seemed like. It stressed me. However again I got this tickling feeling whilst he smiled at me. Aha, I see, he stated. Alice dragged me along to the dining room. Esme, this looks delicious. Thanks for letting me live here this weekend. Oh, it's not anything Bella, expensive. I'm glad to have you ever right here in any case that time. It's precise to see you once more. I smiled at her, said any other thanks and sat down right next to Alice. Alas, Edward went to take a seat on my different aspect. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but Edward's presence made me completely nervous. Critically, Bella, you haven't modified a chunk. Emmett stated very loud. Absolutely everyone had to snigger. Nicely, thanks Emmett. Neither have you ever. Emmett grinned at me and placed his arm around Rosalie, who changed into laughing at him now. Thanks for helping me, Rose. Sincerely, I recognize I'm able to depend on you in tough instances of my existence. Emmett stated to Rosalie. We all had to chuckle once more. You're welcome, honey. You know I might do everything for you. She gave him a brief kiss at the cheek and ate something more. I ate some too. I needed to admit, it changed into a whole lot of fun being right here once more with them. Alice was this kind of sweetheart and Jasper turned out to be truly exceptional. His sister, Rosalie, too. And Rosalie became actually the most stunning woman I have ever seen. I puzzled why on the planet she was with Emmett. However, he was pretty good looking too, if you appreciated that type. But now not for me. So Bella, Emmett commenced. Why have not you been right here the past years? I idea you and my brother had been like, best buddies or something. EPOV. The entire room fell silent. Everybody desired to pay attention what Bella had to mention, although me and Bella were the most effective ones that knew. Who knew what a jerk I had been? All people looked at Bella and me anxiously. I ought to see Bella blush like a maniac, looking cuter than ever. Properly EHM, I assume Edward and that I just went via a difficult time in our friendship. She stated. I couldn't combat the little smile that seemed on my face. She became so sweet. Without figuring out what I did, I looked for her hand under the desk. I felt her warm hand and closed mine around hers and squeezed it a touch. I noticed a little smile on Bella's face, however I wasn't positive if it was approximately me. She looked at me speedy, and I smiled at her as she smiled at me, and that I could not assist but experience like we just had a little moment. A second that might suggest something huge inside the future. BPOV. Esme, thanks so much for dinner, it becomes scrumptious. I instructed Esme, as she refused for me to assist doing the dishes. Thank you, Bella. Esme, isn't there something I will do to help? I wouldn't mind, surely. No pricey, I'm quality. Why do not you move have fun with Alice, or Edward? I told her I would and walked out of the kitchen. Due to the fact that I most simply wasn't planning on putting out with Edward, the first went to Alice's room. I knocked at the door. I do not know who's standing in front of the door, however in case you need to hold your sanity I would not walk on this door. Alice, voice stated, and that I heard Jasper snicker. So I decided I might simply move downstairs. Perhaps I should watch some television or something. I walked inside the living room, questioning it changed into empty, which turned into unusual because the TV changed into on. But it grew to become out. I used to be wrong. Edward sat on the sofa. I don't know how I could likely have overlooked him. I do not know why, but I was absolutely apprehensive. I took a deep breath to calm myself and that I went to sit subsequent to him. Apparently, he did not see me coming. Oh, Bella, howdy, he said with a surprised tone. What are you doing here? Is not the point of a sleepover that you and Alice must grasp out and do women stuff, collectively? I suppose it is, however I do not know. Besides, Alice is kind of busy with Jasper doing I have no idea what and that I did not sense like I wanted to be there, he chuckled. It's quite understandable. But if you want we ought to simply watch some television. The two people, I mean. He ran his hands via his hair. Sure. But you may just watch something you need. I do not mind. Generally I never watch television. He nodded. Okay, however in case you do not need to see something you ought to just tell me. I am now not a mind reader, I don't know if you like it or no longer. I advised him I would and we watched something. I failed to know what, and that I could not care less. For some reason I just could not awareness on the display. All I should consider become that Edward, became sitting right next to me. I tried to breath normal, however due to the fact I could not even try this I instructed Edward the first had to go to the restroom for a minute and that I would be right back. I checked out myself in the reflect. I in no way truly appreciated what I noticed, in particular no longer while Alice changed into standing subsequent to me in assessment. I took a deep breath and ran my hands through my hair, seeking to give it a touch greater quantity. I do not even realize why I did it. However for a few cause I didn't want Edward to silently chuckle at me for not looking good. As quickly as Bella went to the bathroom, I fast walked to the mirror to test how I regarded. I assume I'd try this lots this weekend. I looked K. However okay wasn't precise sufficient if I tried to get Bella to talk to me once more. To be buddies along with her once more. To be I didn't even wanted to assume the phrases. I constant my shirt and sat back on the couch. Pretending I did not were given up. Bella walked within the room again. I couldn't help however experience frightened, however additionally glad. I favored that she was with me, but her presence additionally made me definitely worried. Her brown hair curled around her face and onto her shoulders and she smiled at me as she sat down. Wow, she turned into beautiful. We watched a few TV a touch, until the display finished. I became the television off. I started. I suppose I am gonna go to my room for a little while. I advised her. I desired to break out from her, however I also desired to hug her, push myself in opposition to her and kiss her. I quick shook that concept far away from my head. Forestall it Edward. I informed myself. Oh right. Okay, yeah. In case you want, you may include me. I cautioned. As soon as I stated that I wanted to hit myself. Sure. She stated with a smile. Why now not, right? I nodded and went upstairs with her following me. I walked to my room and permit myself fall on my mattress. I heard Bella close the door as she came in my room too. I sat up straight. She went to take a seat on my chair. Edward, could you please tell me something? She stated at the exact identical time I asked her. So, Bella Swan, tell me. We each burst out in giggling. I will inform you in case you inform me. I stated to Bella. She laughed at that. High quality, as lengthy as it's not something I don't want to reply. Equal here, I said. What I desired to ask you is, you already know, what you have been up to currently. I imply, it is no longer like I talk to you every day. Yeah, whose fault is that? She stated, And she or he right away began blushing when I checked out her. Oh, I'm sorry, Edward. Surely, I failed to mean to mention that. It slipped out. Sorry. It's okay, Bella. I ought to be the only who's sorry. And I'm. What why have to you be the sorry one? If I may additionally ask. Properly, you understand, for what I stated and did to you in the beyond. Bella, no, clearly, Edward, it does not count number. I am over it. I sighed. I recognize, Bella. But please allow me say this. Due to the fact I need to. I've to inform you this. I am so sorry of what I said to you. I shouldn't have. I used to be young and silly, but it really is no excuse to be so rude to you. That word you wrote, when we have been little kids, I still have it. Because I must remind myself each day approximately my stupid mistake, even though that also happens at faculty, every time I see you. I wanted to inform you this quicker, however I bet I was scared. Scared so one can yell at me. And I was proper. Consider the closing time I attempted to talk to you. At school, you absolutely yelled at me. However, you were right. I should see tears welling up in Bella's eyes. Edward, do not. You are making this too hard. I remember how it was. Final time you decided you did not want me anymore. In case you act like this, it is best going to be harder the following time. Simply please. She had one tear on her face. Bella, I understand we were simply intended to talk to every different about the undertaking, and as soon as it really is finished we would by no means talk once more. I recognize you stated that, Bella, however I do not think I will. And I don't want to either. I don't need to be without you once more. BPOV. I may want to experience. I was crying. I wiped my tears away. Edward, I need to consider you. But I do not know if I will. I do not know if I'm able to accept as true with you after what you probably did to me. I don't know how. He had an unhappy appearance on his face. I recognize, Bella, I do. But I simply need to assist you to know that you can always accept as true with me. And that, any further, if you ever want someone to talk to, I'll be right here. I'll usually be there for you if you want. He reached his hand out to take mine. I took his hand and he pulled me on the mattress, without hurting me. He put his arm around my waist as he driven my side in the direction of his. I realize it's difficult for you. However, like I stated, if you want someone to talk to, you already know wherein to discover me. He said. I nodded. He grew to become his torso in the direction of me and placed his other arm around me too, to provide me a hug. I needed to smile a bit at this. It turned into just like it was. The two people. He stopped hugging me and sponsored his face a little, to appearance me in the eyes. Then the most eldritch component ever happened. His face came toward mine and he was kissing me. BPOV. In the beginning I used to be too amazed, too shocked, to do something. Till it hit me, Edward changed into kissing me. He changed into kissing me proper now. After which I found out, this become the fellow who had hurt me so badly within the beyond. This was the guy who, until per week ago, I wasn't speak me to anymore. This was Edward, the character everybody loved at school, who all of the ladies desired so far, Jessica too. He were given a new date every week. For all I knew, he turned into simply lying to me so I could be his date this week. And Monday he would ignore me again. And then I couldn't do this anymore. I pushed him away. No, Edward, what are you doing? He seemed taken aback and ashamed that I pushed him away. This possibly does not show up lots to him. Properly, then this will be proper for him. The man could use an excellent rejection. Bella, I'm so sorry. It's simply that you. No, Edward, I interrupted him. I'm going to Alice. Allows simply foe that this, I gestured to him and me. Never befell, okay. That you did not try and kiss me. I said the ultimate as disgusted as I could, though of root, I wasn't disgusted by means of him kissing me. I grew to become around and walked out of his room. When I was long gone I wanted to give myself a little applause for not looking back. Yay me, I stated in my head, and had to chuckle at how silly that sounded. I knocked at Alice. Door again, and fortuitously this time she simply stated, are available. Ooh, Alice, thank goodness you are right here. I stated, as I permit myself fall onto her mattress. Oh, and Jasper. Hi. I felt myself blush a bit. Why, Bella, what is wrong? Alice requested me. I didn't want to inform her what had simply happened. I might instead forget about approximately it. I'm positive Edward will too, so why cannot I? Nothing, Alice. It's simply, I sighed, still doubting, approximately telling her. I do not want to speak about it. However, it's nothing large. I brought after I saw her scared, however additionally shocked, face. I always advised Alice the entirety. Oh, okay then, Alice said, but I could pay attention she wouldn't forget about this, either. Jasper, may want to you please depart as on my own. I am sorry, it's no longer like I do not need you round, but I assume Bella and I ought to use a few woman time we should really seize up. Jasper got up out of his chair with a grin and walked to Alice. He gave her a hug and a small kiss. I apprehend. Bye then. Bye. Alice looked dreamy at him when he left. When he closed the door she grew to become around to stand me. Are you sure there is not anything you want to inform me, Bella? I shook my head. No, Alice. It is honestly nothing crucial. But you, alternatively, have loads to inform me. Approximately Jasper, for example. I mean, I by no means genuinely were given the info. And that's while the never finishing speak me started. EPOV. As soon as Bella left I wanted to tear my head out. How ought I probably be so stupid? I knew Bella did not like me, I knew Bella would not forgive me, and that I genuinely knew Bella did not need to kiss me. So how on earth may want I have been so stupid to kiss her anyway? There already wasn't a massive risk that Bella would forgive me, or at least forget about approximately it, for all the matters that I did to her whilst we had been little. Okay, that become quite silly too. I could not tell what turned into more silly. That, or what had simply happened. I'd taken into consideration all of the possibilities I had now. There had been only a few. 1. I'd overlook all about Bella Swan. I'd forget about our records together. I would completely ignore her lifestyles and desire that those emotions could fade away. But not seeing how I might ever be able to try this, I'd driven this feature aside. Now not handiest might I omit Bella terribly, and I would probably experience guilty all the time. It additionally confirmed the entirety Bella stated to me, and how she felt about me. It truly is not who I desired to be. I'd do actually nothing. I had afflicted Bella long sufficient and I would sooner or later go away her on my own. Sure, I could speak to her now, after which, be first class to her, maybe assist her with a few homework. However, I would not say a phrase to her about whatever else. That became an option. I needed to reflect on consideration on this one. It might in all likelihood be exact for Bella, and that's all I need proper. Lamentably, and that I hated to admit this to myself, I was also fairly egocentric whilst Bella become involved. After which there has been option range 3. And that I like that one high quality. I'd apologize to Bella. I might not forget about her. In truth, I desired to be her pal again. I wanted to hang out together with her once more. Maybe her and me might be like we was. BPOV. Wow, Alice, I have overlooked a lot. I informed Alice with a sad voice. I recognize Bella. I don't love it both. But you could be part of all of the important things among me and Jasper with the intention to come in the destiny. I recognize plenty of humans would say that we're simply teens, that we do not know what we need. But surely, I can experience that me and Jasper are all the time. I recognize we're going to remaining. Alice. Stories about her and Jasper had absolutely cheered me up. They had been just so sweet and romantic. By some means it gave me wish that it could be like that for me in the future. I can recognize, I assume. You and Jasper are brilliant collectively. He sounds virtually sweet. And he is so adorable. Alice started out guffawing. I recognize. Isn't always he. He actually is. I was guffawing too. Usually I'd say I should restore you up with one among his splendid friends. However, seeing how you and my brother are these days, you know. She looked at me with a know-it-all smile. No, Alice, I said. There may be nothing happening between me and Edward. And severely, there by no means will appear anything among us. So sincerely, she requested, uncertain. Virtually, Alice. Believe me, we're definitely nothing like that. I would say we are the complete opposite. Okay, so, do you need me to introduce you to one in every of his buddies? She advised. I thought approximately that. I actually hated Edward, however for a few motive I could not get him out of my mind either. But perhaps if Alice introduced me to a person else I would be able to place him out of my mind. Maybe I might sooner or later overlook all about him. I can guarantee you he's terrified Bella. Sincerely. And he is without a doubt clever and athletic. He's a notable runner. Alice advised me. Okay Alice. I'll meet him. She squealed of happiness. Bella, it's so cool. He is a really exceptional man. It is a friend of Jasper and he's definitely adorable. I ought to see Alice getting a little overexcited. And perhaps, in case you get on well, we may want to double. You realize, me and Jasper, and also you and him. I will ask him to come back day after today, he probably will. Specifically if I tell him I'll introduce him to you. Keep on Alice. I simply said I might meet him. I don't know something approximately him. You did not even tell me his name. Oh loosen up Bella. I know what I'm doing. I'm positive the two of you will get alongside certainly nicely. She laughed mysteriously. Okay. However you continue to didn't mention his call. I stated. Oh right. His name's Jacob Black. BPOV. Oh shoot. I said. My other bag's still downstairs. My clothes were in that bag. Right now I was only wearing a tiny boxer short and a tank top. I needed my clothes. Oh that's all right, I'll go get it. Alice offered. I quickly nodded my head. No, but thanks. You stay in bed, it's my bag. I'll go get it. I already left her room before she could object. It was already pretty late, so I walked on my toes, trying not to wake anyone. Ooh, where was my bag? I could have sworn I left it in the hallway. But I guess not. I tried the living room, but no bag there either. Maybe the kitchen, but I wasn't prepared for what I saw next. Edward. In just the bottom half of his pajama. Looking totally handsome without his shirt on. I could see his flat stomach. His muscles. It was so unfair. Why did all the hateful guys have to be so handsome? Oh, Edward, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, I meant to. I sighed. I could barely speak. I took a deep breath. I'm looking for my bag. Edward seemed as shocked as I was. Oh right. Well I was just I was thirsty. I nodded as he said this. I didn't even listen to what he said. I was just looking at him. Okay. Right then. Have you seen my bag then? I didn't mean to ask him, but I had to. I wanted to leave. Edward looked a little too overwhelming. No, I haven't seen it. He seemed to be a bit uncomfortable too. Are you thirsty? He asked, holding out the milk carton he was holding. Luckily, he had a glass in his other hand. I know it's stupid of me to check, but hey, you never know what guys do. Some drink the milk straight out of the carton. I thought about my answer. I wanted to leave, but I was kinda thirsty too. A little, I answered, and reached for the carton. He gave it to me and I grabbed a glass. We were standing next to each other, both silently drinking our milk. My arm slightly touched his. I felt like an idiot being aware of this, but I couldn't help it. His skin felt so warm and cold at the same time. I wanted to put my arms around him, press him tight to my body. Maybe put my lips on his, or just put head on his shoulder and cry. I don't know how I managed not to do that, since he was just so handsome. But somehow I did. I knew that he wasn't what I wanted. I knew he wasn't the good guy. But I just couldn't help hoping that maybe he was. That maybe it would all work out someday. No, Bella, it won't work out. Stop thinking about it. Well, I think I should go look for my bag. I still don't know where it is and Alice is probably waiting for me. Are you sure you haven't seen it? No, I'm sorry, but try under the stairs. Sometimes Esme puts stuff there. Thanks, I'll try that. Good night, Bella, he said, as he cleaned up the glasses and walked to the stairs. Good night, I answered, trying very hard to keep my breath normal. I watched as he walked away. When I couldn't see him anymore, I finally left my spot. I walked to the stairs and yes, under the stairs was my bag. I smiled, grabbed my bag, and silently went back to Alice's room. EPOV. I stared at the ceiling, thinking of what had just happened. The shock I felt as soon I realized Bella was in the same room as I was. That we were all alone. That I didn't have a shirt on. Oops. But the picture which appeared in my head all the time was Bella. Bella walking in the kitchen, not wearing a lot of clothes. She looked gorgeous. Her hair, her eyes, her lips, her legs, oh her legs. Her beautiful face full of shock. I smiled at the memory. The touch of her skin against mine. In the end I just couldn't bear it anymore. I had to leave, even though I so badly wanted to stay. Talk to her. I kept thinking of Bella until I fell asleep. The sunlight fell on my face. Saturday. A day of freedom. No school. No annoying friends bugging me. No girls flirting with me. What a relief. And then I remembered. Bella. She was here, in my house. Okay. She wasn't here for me, but for Alice. But really, if you thought about it, that didn't matter. She was still here. I quickly got out of my bed, feeling the urge to run downstairs, see if she was there. But I knew that I couldn't. I took a shower. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Well, okay, I knew. I put on a dark blue button-down shirt and my favorite jeans. I walked downstairs, straight to the kitchen. I don't even know why. Nobody was in the kitchen, so I just went to the dining room where Esme had breakfast ready. Esme and Carlisle were there. So were Rosalie and Emmett. Good morning, Edward, Esme said with a huge smile. Good morning, everyone, I simply replied. I sat down and reached for the bread. I noticed Emmett's arm, which looked so casual and normal around Rosalie. I couldn't help but being a bit jealous. Not that I liked Rosalie. No, definitely not. I was jealous of them together. I couldn't help but realizing that that was what I wanted. Not some stupid date with a girl whose IQ was equal to her age. I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted just one girlfriend, one girl who could be mine. And I could be hers. Even Alice managed to get that. And Jasper was a really cool guy. I liked him a lot. How was Alice capable of doing that, when I wasn't? Just then Jasper walked in the room. Hey, Jasper. Good morning, Emmett said with a huge grin. Jasper grinned back. I felt like I was missing something. Good morning, Emmett. And the rest of you, of course. Everyone ate their breakfast, not talking much. Sometimes someone said something and someone else responded, but there wasn't a real conversation. A little while later Alice appeared in the room. And behind her was Bella. My heart skipped a beat when I saw her face, her smile. I begun to hate myself for only thinking of her. For being so obsessed with her. But I couldn't help it. Alice gave Jasper a quick kiss on the lips. Good morning, Jazz, she said, sitting next to Jasper. He replied, saying the same thing. Well, except of course, he didn't call her Jazz, he just called her Alice. Bella sat down at the chair which was probably the furthest away from me. Well, that was no good. She was supposed to sit next to me. I gave her a quick smile. But she probably didn't see it, or she ignored it. I hoped for the first. Breakfast went on like it did before. Though now Alice was here, there was a little more talking. After breakfast I just went upstairs. Since I was so bored I ended up doing my homework. Not exactly how I was hoping to be spending my Saturday, but hey, a guy's got to do something, right? When I finished my homework, I lay on my bed, thinking about stuff. Okay, you know exactly what kind of stuff. Until I heard voices. I went downstairs to see what was happening. I saw Jasper, his arm around Alice. And then I saw Bella, talking to some guy. EPOV. Okay, so this totally isn't the way I roll. When I like a girl, she isn't supposed to flirt with some other guy. Normally, she'd just go out with me. And I knew Bella was, you know, different. But this was way too much. This so isn't gonna happen. Well, hi Jacob, I'm Bella, she said as she shook the weird guy's hand. Yuck, call me Jake, tall guy said. Bella smiled. Okay, I could hardly take this any longer. That guy was flirting with my Bella. Well, fine, technically he wasn't flirting with her, yet. I knew it wouldn't take long. And since my Bella was still not my Bella, I didn't know how she would react to that. I felt the urge to go there and take care of this. So Jake, you're friends with Jasper, right? Bella asked with her sweet voice. Right, we've been friends for a while now. Jasper and Alice said something. I think they said that they would leave since they left. You know they're trying to set us up, right? Bella asked the arrogant, snobby, way too tall dude. I did not like that guy. Well, it seemed kind of obvious Jasper's been trying to set me up with somebody before, you know. But I have to say, he never introduced me to someone as nice and beautiful like you. I felt like I had to gag. Lame. What a suck-up. Bella blushed, looking adorable as ever. I decided I had to step in. This couldn't go on any longer. I had to step in. "Hey Bella, what's up?" I said, walking in the room, trying to look casual. Bella's head got redder than it was before. She looked like she got caught trying to steal something out of a store. "Oh, Edward. Hi." She looked from tall guy to me and back to Jacob. "Jacob, this is Edward. Alice, sister. Edward, this is Jacob, he's a friend of Jasper." Tall guy held out his hand but I ignored it. I just gave him a nod. "Ha, take that tall guy." He seemed a bit embarrassed and brought back his hand. "Nice to meet you, man," he said. "Yeah, right. Likewise," I answered. "So you're a friend of Jasper?" I asked. He just nodded. "So why are you here? You know Jasper's gonna be with Alice 24/7, right?" Again tall guy looked a bit embarrassed. I knew why he was here. I was just checking to see if he had the guts to tell me. "Well, actually Alice called me, saying there was a wonderful girl over here I should meet. And I would have to agree with her. I'm glad I came." Bella smiled her lovely smile. "Actually Edward, Jake and I are going down to La Push to eat some lunch. I'd invite you, too. But I know how much you hate La Push. Plus, I think you must have a date or something. It's Saturday, so good luck. I hope she doesn't mind being dumped," Bella said with a sarcastic but pretending to be cheerful voice. "Well, lucky for me I don't have plans today. And I could make an exception about La Push. I'd love to join you for lunch." Bella already opened her mouth to protest, but she knew she couldn't get out of it. "Tall guy, I'm sorry." Jacob seemed a little uncomfortable too. Everybody got their coats, including me, and we walked outside. There was a very ugly, slightly humiliating car in front of our house. "I'm guessing it belongs to tall guy. I suggest we take my car. I'm sure we'll be there a lot sooner if we take my car than if we would take Jacob's." I could see tall guy blushing a little now. Apparently his car was a touchy subject. "Fine man. I know my car isn't, well, you know. But I'm saving up for a new car. Not all of us are blessed with rich parents who will pay everything for their kids." I pretended I didn't hear him. Who did he think he is? I think Bella should go shotgun. "I hope you don't mind Jacob, but I think that's the way to treat a lady." "Ah, nice manners. I see you did this before." "A lot." He had this stupid look on his face. Like he was better for Bella than me. How ridiculous. Bella and I belong together. Everyone could see that, except apparently Bella. "Oh Edward, that's all right, but I can sit in the back with Jake." "It doesn't matter to me." "No Bella, I insist." Bella looked at tall guy. He nodded. "I'm fine Bells. Doesn't matter to me, either." "Fine." Bella sighed, and finally sat down in the car. I closed the door I held open for her and rushed to get behind the wheel. Next to Bella. "So Jacob," Bella said, her voice like an angel's. "What kind of sports do you like?" "Well, I like running," Jacob said. "Oh, that's a coincidence, Edward's a runner too." "Right, Edward?" Bella asked me. "Yeah, that's right. Maybe we should race sometime. See who's faster." Sure, whatever." "Good," I said. It was quiet in the car for a while. "BPOV. I think we're there," I said. I wanted to get out of the car, but again Edward was there before I could open the door. He held the door open for me. With other guys, I would find this very nice and sweet. But with Edward, I hated it. I don't know what's wrong with the guy, but something's not right. "Thanks Edward," I managed to say and walked to Jacob, who was standing in front of me. "Jake, I'm so sorry. I didn't think he would come. I don't know what's wrong with him. Please, just ignore him," I whispered, so that only Jacob could hear me. Jacob smiled and nodded. "I will," he whispered back. "Besides, even though he's with us, I'm still spending time with you. I want to get to know you a little better." I knew Edward still couldn't hear us. But I smiled at him and walked towards the lunch place. Both Edward and Jacob followed me. I tried to look confident, but of course I was still me. I tripped over something, it could have been my own feet, and fell down. Well, I would have fallen down if somebody hadn't catched me. I looked to see who held my arms, but it turned out Edward catched my left arm and Jacob my right. "Ooh, thanks," I said to Jacob with a smile. And you too Edward." I tried to say the second as friendly as possible. We sat down at a table, studying the lunch menu. I was reading the words, but I wasn't focused on them at all. All I could think of were Jacob and Edward. It was weird how I thought of them. Edward was, well, I hated the guy. But somehow, I couldn't imagine ignoring him again like I used to. I couldn't picture him out of my life anymore. But I didn't know why. I shouldn't care about him. He was so awful. But Jacob was such a nice guy. I didn't know him well, but he was very sweet. He was sort of handsome, and smart. And maybe it was just because we just met, but I didn't feel anything for him. I would probably never like him as more than friends. But I didn't want to feel like that. I wanted to like him a lot. Jacob seemed the perfect boy for me. So Jacob, tell something about yourself. I hardly know anything about you, I told him. He seemed a bit uncomfortable. Okay, but when I'm done, it's your turn to tell something about yourself, okay? Fine, I said, and we all had to laugh. Well, I go to school at the boarding school where Alice and Jasper went to. But now that they've both left the school to take lessons over here in Forks, I probably won't like it there as much as I used to. I think a lot of people over there feel that way. They were kind of the fun people. Everybody liked them. Edward and I had to laugh. Jacob laughed, too. Then he went on with his story. Anyway, like I told you before, I'm a big fan of running and also I like working with cars. I know it sounds weird since I have this terrible car, but I really enjoy it. I don't know why. It's a little weird. No, I get it. It's not weird. Everyone likes different things. Right, Jacob said. And I don't know what more to tell you. So I guess it's your turn. No, I said, and we all had to laugh. My eyes flashed to Edward and we locked eyes for about 2 seconds. I quickly remembered that he was very quiet, especially for being Edward. I never heard him this quiet. Well, I hate sports. I'm terrible at it. I hope you never see me sporting. I like to read a lot, though. You thought you were weird with your working with cars, but I guess you hadn't heard me. Jacob smiled. Bella, you're not weird. Edward sighed. I looked over at him. Finally he said something. Well, I think I kind of am. Maybe you're a little different than the rest. But that's a good thing. Edward sighed. We were all quiet then. We just started deciding what to eat for lunch. In the corner of my eyes I saw a waiter coming our way. Wow, I haven't seen you in a while, Jacob said. I looked up to see who he was talking to. BPOV. Jake. Wow, didn't expect to see you here, the boy said. Yeah, I know Seth, how've you been? Pretty good actually. But you'll never believe it. Sam left Leah. Apparently, this was pretty shocking news to Jacob. Edward and I, however, didn't even know who those people were. We traded looks. I could see he felt the same way as I do. We were kind of not knowing. Nah, really. Leah and Sam, they broke up. Yeah man. Sam met this other girl, Emily. Now he's totally in love with her or something. Leah's heartbroken. She already told the whole family her and Sam were getting married and stuff. Wow, I guess I never expected them to break up. But I never really thought they were right for each other. Emily and Sam are. I don't know, Jake. Maybe you should go check out the whole gang soon. We haven't seen you in a while. I will, Jake said. Okay, I know they had to catch up, but I was really hungry. It felt like Edward could read my mind, because just when I thought of this, he went like, hey man, if you want to talk to each other, fine by me. But we'd like to order. Normally I would find this very rude. But right now, I didn't care. I needed food. The three of us gave our orders and the boy, I think his name was Seth, left. I'm sorry about that. He's an old friend of mine, from before I left this place. I haven't seen any of my old friends lately. Oh really, that's all right, I said, but I could see Edward didn't agree on that. The waiter brought our food, gave Jacob a nod and went back to work. Excuse me, I said and walked to the toilet. I was in need of a hair and makeup check. EPOV. I watched as she walked away, gorgeous as ever. So Jacob, tell me, what's the deal with you? Why don't you have a girlfriend? Or do you have a girlfriend, but she doesn't mind it if you're totally flirting with other girls? Not that it's any of your business, but I don't have a girlfriend. I just haven't met someone as interesting as the person I just met. Well, I'm flattered, but I'm not really into. Jacob rolled his eyes at my stupid joke. Not you, Bella. Oh, I'm sorry. I said with a sarcastic voice. You like Bella. I didn't know. Sure. That's why you went to have lunch with us. Dude, I'm sorry if you didn't know how lucky you'd be to have Bella, but I do know. And I'd appreciate it if you'd back off. Yeah, right. Was he serious? Me? Backing off? Didn't think so. Look, I do know how lucky I'd be if Bella was mine. That's why I'm not backing off. If you want to have this fight, fine by me. I know who's going to be the winner and it's not you. And if you think you can't handle this, then go. Jacob snickered. I suppose he was up to this fight. Fine. You want to do this. You really want to battle me over a girl. She's not just a girl. She's Bella. And I think you should be the one who's afraid, not me. I know Bella and I are meant for each other. I've known her since we were little kids. You just met her, but at least I see how wonderful she is right away. It must have taken you some years. I knew it right away, too. I said, knowing this was true, but also knowing that I made some stupid mistake. But I wasn't going to tell that to him. Maybe he'd learn from my mistake. That's not what I was going for. And you're still not together. Maybe you should get the hint, dude. I was about to say something not very appropriate back, but just then I saw Bella walking back. A tiny smile appeared on her face. Oh, the battle begun. May I be the winner? I tried to give her my best smile. Hey Bella. BPOV. Coming back from the toilet and seeing Jacob and Edward was like a dream. Jacob turned around, giving me a nod, and he winked at me. I could feel myself blushing a little. Edward sat there, giving me his dazzling smile I could never resist. He looked so beautiful. I smiled back at him and Jacob and sat down. So what were you two talking about when I was gone? Edward said. Music. At the same time Jacob said, sports. Well, first we talked about our music and after that we discussed sports. Edward said calmly. Jacob nodded. Yeah, what he said. I had to laugh a little at that. When Edward said it, I could have believed it, but when Jacob said that I didn't believe it anymore. But I let it go anyway. It probably was something I didn't even want to know, anyway. I had my hands resting on my leg and I could have sworn Edward brushed his hand lightly against mine. But this went against all logic, so I decided I imagined it. But it was harder to imagine Jacob's look as he watched me. There was something in his eyes that made me panic. I quickly turned my eyes away, not thinking of what I'd see if I'd look the other way. Which was Edward. Edward sort of gave me the same look as Jacob did. I wanted to leave this place. I wanted to get out. So are you two done with your lunch? I asked. Yeah, Edward said. Jacob agreed. Then should we go back to the Cullens? Maybe Alice has plans for me and her, or something. And I don't want to disappoint her. They both agreed with me and fought over who should pay the check. I offered to pay for my share, but they didn't even listen to me. Finally, they decided they'd both pay the half, though they both weren't happy with it. You know, I could have paid for my own lunch. I said. No way. This is my treat. Jacob said. Edward coughed. Well, okay, our treat. Jake added. Edward seemed pleased. We got back to the car and Edward insisted I'd sit in the front again. Jacob shrugged, pretending to be okay with it. But I could see he'd rather have it a different way. Nobody said a word when we were in the car. I didn't like the silence. I hated those. This lunch had been such a disaster. I never wanted to hang out with both Jacob and Edward at the same time again. It was so uncomfortable. We walked back in the house. Alice just came downstairs, wearing just a robe. She had a shocked expression on her face, like she got caught. I didn't even want to know. She looked at me with a certain look. Bella, Jacob, Edward, you're back. Did you go to lunch? We all nodded. The three of you. We nodded again. And then she looked at me. She looked like there was something important she knew. Something she wasn't going to tell me. BPOV. Alice, please tell me what's taking place. You've been performing definitely bizarre on account that we came lower back from lunch. I was getting sick of Alice's behavior. From the instant on Jacob, Edward and I came lower back from lunch she changed into acting in a very puzzling and traumatic manner. There may be nothing taking place, Bella. Truly. I knew from the beyond in no way to trust Alice about this kind of stuff. There was continually something taking place with Alice. Alice, I mean it. Tell me what is incorrect. Right, I don't know. Please, Alice. Alice sighed and rolled her eyes. Bella, for the 100th time, there may be not anything wrong. And sure, there are things proper, but the ones matters you understand, like me and Jasper. Even though this sounded so convincing, and nearly everybody could have fallen for it, I did no longer. It turned into such an Alice lie. She became the fine liar ever. However commonly, she would not misinform me. I determined I might surrender. While Alice acts like this, it's a lost case. I sat on her bed and grabbed her pillow. I wrapped my hands across the pillow and pressed it against my stomach. Bella, if there's something taking place with you, you may inform me. You already know that proper. Alice requested me, a touch of situation in her voice. I realize, Alice. But same as you, there may be not anything going on. She regarded a little pissed at me. I guess it became that obvious that there was something going on with me. However howdy, she failed to tell me and I wasn't planning on telling her. Bella, I imply it. You can continually inform me. I understand it's been a while that we frolicked together, but I need you to realize that you may inform me something. I am now not like that stupid lady Jessica, who spreads the information as quickly as she hears it. I smiled at that. Alice may want to always describe Jessica flawlessly. She knew precisely which words to apply, how she could make Jessica look terrible, while sincerely she was not that horrific. Alice, I recognize that. I believe you. You're not like a few other humans of this circle of relatives. And you are not like all of the silly ladies at school. However, I am exceptional, truly. Alice looked at me in disbelief, but she dropped the concern, understanding I wouldn't percentage it along with her. I was sorry for that. I used to inform Alice the whole lot. However, this becomes something I needed to maintain to myself. Alice did not want to realize approximately Jacob and Edward. Approximately my being pressured, approximately those. I recognized she'd need to hear it, but I wasn't going to tell her. Turned into the doorbell. Alice requested. What? I asked, no longer having paid interest to her query earlier than. The doorbell. Did you pay attention it? I nonetheless looked at her in confusion. I guess no longer. Allows go downstairs. Alice grabbed my hand and dragged me downstairs. The pillow fell at the floor in Alice's room and he or she walked so fast I needed to run to maintain up together with her. Alice sluggish down. It is just the doorbell. Yeah, properly. You in no way recognize who it is. I am in order that curious. Alice stated. Of course this was a really terrible lie. I rolled my eyes. There has been nothing to do but observe her. She stopped halfway down the steps. Shish, Alice said, with her index finger at her lips. I sighed, but she gestured me to be quiet, so I didn't say something and watched wherein she changed into looking. The door. I desired to invite why we have been searching at a door, however I was afraid for Alice to yell at me. Jasper walked downstairs, however Alice stopped him, also gesturing to him that he should be quiet. Jasper accompanied our gaze and looked at the door too. Edward walked closer to the door and Alice jumped a little out of exhilaration. I, of Path, had no idea what was going on. I wish I knew it too. Perhaps I ought to jump around too, then. Hello, Edward. A way too familiar voice said. Jessica. Oh, good day, Jessica. I looked at her. She changed into blinking with her eyes like loopy. I did not realize what she become looking to reach. But if she tried to make a circulate on Edward, this become probably now not the proper manner. Edward, I was thinking perhaps you wanted to go watch a movie tonight. She flashed him a grin that, I suppose, turned into alleged to be both astonishing and irresistible. However, she failed to seem like that. What became she questioning? I informed her a million times before that she have to neglect approximately Edward. I did not tell her to drop by means of at his residence. I'm sorry, however I do not assume I'll be able to make it this night. I have loads to do. Edward sighed. I could not help but sense a touch joy in my stomach. Oh, nicely. How approximately we go see a film subsequent weekend? Jessica requested. Oh, that girl had to discover ways to take a touch. This was getting surely sad. Next weekend I'm going camping with Emmett, and Jasper if he wants to come. I looked at Alice, however she shook her head. So he wasn't going tenting next weekend. Boy, this man did now not like Jessica. Or perhaps he turned into simply sticking to his no second dates, rule. Oh well. Maybe some other time. I observed Edward no longer answering. I think Alice and Jasper noticed it too, because they started out guffawing. Now not very loud, however loud enough for Edward and Jessica to hear them. They both looked at the three folks, all guffawing. Due to the fact I could not help but giggling, too. It turned into just that pathetic. Edward checked out as in confusion. Apparently, he did now not get what turned into that humorous about this example. But he also had a tiny smile on his face. I suppose it need to have been due to us. All giggling on the steps. I'd locate that pretty fun too. Jessica, however, did not appearance amused. Bella, she asked, what are you doing right here? I tried to prevent giggling, however Alice and Jasper couldn't control themselves anymore. The look on Jessica's face turned into priceless. I am staying with Alice. I stated. I had stopped laughing, however I could not help but having a gigantic smile on my face. Jessica must cope with that. I ought to see Jessica thinking that perhaps she must grow to be friends with Alice too. Then she would possibly get to stay within the equal residence as Edward, too. She seemed to like that thought. Oh well. I should pay attention. Alice and Jasper attempting very tough to prevent giggling, but they most effective had to snort harder. Jessica. I must get again doing, you realize, what I should do. So until you experience the urge to talk to Bella, I advocate you get returned domestic. Now I could not help giggling, both. This changed into a touch unhappy for Jessica, however I warned her approximately Edward, she just would not pay attention properly. By then, she said. Edward closed the door and checked out Alice. You've got something to do with this, Alice. I understand it. Alice laughed even more difficult. I failed to understand that turned into feasible. I am sorry, Edward. However, I ran into her in the store today and he or she requested me in case you had been loose tonight, and I could not help it. Even Edward needed to chuckle at this. When we have been all executed, Alice, and that I went back upstairs. I notion this turned into the issue Alice become acting bizarre about, but reputedly, this become no longer the simplest issue. She was still not acting like herself. Alice, I am going to take a bath, She nodded. I accrued my bathe stuff and headed for the toilet. Fortuitously, no person become the usage of it. I became the recent water on and locked the door. I used shampoo I found in the lavatory. It smelled just like Renesmee, so I figured it become hers. I smelled scrumptious. I placed the bathe off and wanted to get dressed, understanding I forgot to deliver my clothes. I wanted to hit my head against the wall, however that wouldn't help. I wrapped my towel around my body. It changed into slightly masking the matters it become presupposed to cowl, however I could not do something else. I might simply have to hope I would not run into all people, but as quickly as I walked out of the door I found out that wasn't going to manifest. EPOV. I was in shock. First the day before today, now this. I felt like heaven, but it additionally felt completely awkward, not proper, that sort of stuff. Bella stood in front of me, her moist hair hung round her face, her stunning face become full of surprise and her frame was blanketed in not anything extra than a towel. And that I could not help but experience the urge to tear the towel away. I wanted to hit myself for feeling like this, however I could not assist it. She looked woe. There had been no phrases to explain how she looked proper then. Oh. Bella managed to get out. I realized I used to be nevertheless looking at her. My eyes have popped out. Yeah, I cleared my throat. I am, sorry. I will visit my, I could not even come up with the word. My room. Bella nodded. Yeah. Me too. Nicely, now not my room. Alice, room. It would be weird if I might visit my room, since that is not here. I would have to stroll home and I'm now not making plans on doing that. Bella took a deep breath. I think she become worried. She rarely talked like that. I checked out her again, her towel were given a bit loose. Now it turned into just protecting the aspect that in reality had to be included, but if it slipped a touch further, that wasn't the case anymore. I ought to sense my belly doing 5 lower back flips at simply the sight of her. But that wasn't the simplest thing I felt. EPOV. Oh, this turned into bad. Bella turned into status there, being all splendid and staggering and hardly carrying something. And I was over right here, having a tiny state of affairs, under the belt. Why couldn't I be my assured self around Bella? I failed to ought to be the jerk, however I should at the least have my self-assurance. But something about Bella took that each one away. Something about her made me feel like a whole moron. So yeah, my room, I said. Bella nodded. Proper. And we each walked away. I was so distracted with the aid of my meeting with Bella that I almost forgot I used to be heading to my room. I opened the door and fast placed on a few tune. I had to be distracted. I needed to forestall considering Bella. Oh, Bella. However, nothing should maintain my mind from her. I don't know what's turned into. I attempted the whole lot, however my mind kept slipping to the towel. This become not helping. Ooh. I desired to be together with her. I desired to kiss her once more. But then she wouldn't push me away. I desired to press her body in opposition to mine, my hand in her hair and one on her hip. To feel her lips against mine. Oh, forestall it, Edward. This is getting out of hand. I idea approximately having a shower. But that would not assist a whole lot. Bella got here out of the shower when I noticed her. Perhaps I used to be in want of a guy's night time. Maybe I should not be here placing out by myself in my very own room. I imply, perhaps my so referred to as buddies would not come. They were all on a stupid date with some silly chick. But there has been still Emmett. And Jasper of Path. I could just hold out with them. That's what I wanted, a night time without ladies. Dash. Silly me. What became I wondering? A night without women. Be aware to self. By no means, ever once more, decide you ought to hang out with Emmett and Jasper if you want to break out from ladies and in particular talking about women. With Jasper courting my sister and Emmett courting Jasper's sister, girls were all they mentioned. Of course, they didn't discuss the information, because the ladies they have been talking about have been nevertheless the alternative individual's sister, however they mentioned them plenty. And after I say plenty, I most in reality imply a lot. I used to be just sitting there, pretending to concentrate to their silly testimonies about their stupid girlfriends and their silly recommendation approximately their silly sister for each different. I realize I likely mentioned silly an excessive amount of, but right now I used to be so bored, I didn't even care. So now and again, Rose is like totally acting bizarre. She's all like, "Oh Emmett, you recognize what romantic thing Jasper just did for Alice? Or some different pal?" I suggest, "Why's she telling me that sort of stuff? Oh duh, how dumb may want to a person be? Emmett so failed to get ladies. It turned into a miracle he changed into capable of find a lady who ought to live with him. And, I had to admit, Rosalie turned into honestly a hottie. Nevertheless, now not my kind. Properly, she just desires you to be a bit more romantic. Make a pleasing gesture." I saw Emmett's face complete of expertise now. Nevertheless, why doesn't she simply say so? Because ladies are bizarre. They do not go around announcing stuff like that right on your face. Jasper luckily became a touch smarter than Emmett. "Oh, thank you man. You're a genius. It's a good element your relationship Alice. Otherwise I'd in no way recognize this kind of stuff." I felt completely ignored. Hey, I was his real brother. And that I knew a thing or two approximately girls, too. I mean, he knew that. Although Emmett wasn't the best character I have met, so that could explain it. No trouble. When you have any questions, you could usually question me. Jasper stated. I needed that'd matter for me too. Oh thank you. I would not recognize who else to invite. Hello, was I really on this room? This turned into getting worse and worse. Now they acted like I by no means existed. Well, maybe Edward, Jasper suggested. Turned into that simply my call. Become I actually referred to. On this communication. Nicely seemingly Edward doesn't without a doubt recognize plenty about girls. Seeing how he would not even get Bella to love him. My eyes popped open. Oh, he did no longer say that. Excuse me, I requested him, now not with a very great tone in my voice. You get what I suggest. I imply that you glaringly need to this point Bella, but I suppose she's not definitely up for it, seeing how she doesn't like you and all. I used to be stunned. Virtually bowled over. Didn't he get that situation changed into a touch painful? And I do not know how he has the center to say it out loud. I am sorry Edward, but he is totally proper. You have options. 1. Overlook about her. There are more girls around. I without delay shook my head. That turned into no choice. Okay, then choice 2. You have to prevent performing like one of these moron, and actually try to get her to like you. I thought about that. Genuinely option 2. However, how have been you thinking on doing that? BPOV. Oh my, why did this always happen to moi? I never heard those testimonies from Alice before. Or Jessica. It's probably because they're no losers like I am. But to run into Edward with just a towel on. I mean, come on. That become way over the top. That's even ridiculously stupid for me. As soon as Edward walked to his room, I speedy ran to Alice's room. I failed to want to run into any more humans. Carlisle almost saw me, but luckily I managed to just journey 2 times on my way over there. So I was a touch quicker than every day. Bella, Alice asked me while ran into her room. Is which you? I couldn't see Alice, however she become probable in her giant closet, choosing out garments and footwear and all that for the following day, and that I had in concept she changed into additionally doing that for me. Yeah, it is Bella. If you were hoping I might be Jasper, it truly is too awful. I'm not doing the matters with you which you do with Jasper. Alice needed to snicker about that. Exact. Reason I'm now not so sure I need to do those with you. No longer which you're not a superb character, however, you know why. I laughed too. I was thinking about telling Alice about my meeting with Edward, however I decided I'd better not. I did not recognize how Alice changed into going to react if I instructed her that. So, inform me, how did you want Jacob? Alice requested, strolling out of, certainly, her closet. I idea approximately her query. What did I consider Jacob? Oh, I suggest, he's a awesome man. Good looking, quality and all that stuff. However I don't assume he's surely my type. Alice gave me a ordinary look. Handsome and excellent is not your type. She requested me, nicely, I don't suggest it like that, it is just, I don't assume we may be a couple, or anything. To be sincere, I don't assume that this is the trouble. You ought to definitely be a pair. Alice said. I looked at her apparently. The trouble's Edward. BPOV. WH what? I requested. I assume my mouth fell open. You heard me, Bella. Jacob's a extraordinary guy. You two should absolutely be a couple. You'll be ideal collectively, even. But the factor is, you don't like Jacob, due to the fact you like Edward, and that is first rate, in case you'd simply admit it. I ought to feel Alice getting, nicely no longer mad, but annoyed. Alice, I sighed, I do not know where you got the concept, but I do not like your brother, severely. Alice sighed too and rolled her eyes. Oh, you like him all proper. You simply do not know it yet. But if I were you, I'd find out very, very soon. And she or he walked away. She just left. Properly okay, she informed me earlier than she wanted to take a shower and he or she had towels together with her, but that does not mean she will be able to depart. Okay, it is her house, but still. She simply walked away, as in, now she isn't always right here anymore. I recognize, shocking. So I just sat there, my mouth nonetheless open, staring at the door. It's now not just the reality that she left, it's also what she said before she left. I preferred Edward. No manner. That arrogant piece of I shouldn't end my sentences. That could get too impolite. Alice become so incorrect. She could not be extra wrong. Peef. She idea I liked Edward. Ha. Desirable one. Yeah right, and we will get collectively and live fortuitously ever after. Who rent? I imply. I clearly did no longer like Edward, that changed into a complete lie. Even though, you know, he changed into surely good looking. And he can be fine if he truly wanted to. And sometimes even candy. And we were high quality friends while we had been more youthful. However, that did not mean I favored him. It was the overall opposite. Good day, Bella, Jasper said, on foot within the room. I fast awoke from the communication I would have with Alice if she were here, which found area in my head, and smiled at Jasper. Howdy, Jasper. He nodded and gave me a grin. So Jacob stated he likes you. Well, I mean, he thinks you are definitely cool and all that. Jasper regarded a piece uncomfortable. I failed to get why. Right, yeah, he is definitely excellent. I said. Jasper seemed to agree, however I felt there was something he knew. I'm sorry, but is there something happening? I asked. Jasper seemed shocked. No, no, why do you ask? Nicely, due to the fact you are totally stressing out. You're worse than Alice. He blushed a little bit. He seemed in reality adorable. Now, not that I appreciated him or something, he just seemed like the proper boyfriend for Alice. Well, he said, I suppose he wasn't sure of what to say to me. Oh, Jasper, surely. You don't have to inform me. I'm now not even sure I want to recognize. Certainly. Jasper seemed relieved. Thank you, Bella. But please, do not tell Alice approximately how I acted. I swear my eyes got massive. What? This genuinely doesn't have whatever to do with you and Alice, right? I imply, in a terrible way, you're no longer breaking apart with her or something, or dishonest on her. Right, Jasper. No, Bella. It is not anything like that. Actually, how stupid would I be if I cheated on Alice? Come on, Bella, you realize higher. I sighed in remedy. Jasper, don't ever scare me like that, once more. Ever. Okay, he grinned. I might not. But just, do not tell Alice, K. I nodded in doubt. Okay. However, if this turns out to be virtually, sincerely terrible, you are dead, Jasper. He needed to chuckle at that. Okay, Bella. But I promise, this might not be awful element. And he too, left. What changed into it with all of the mysterious leaving? EPOV. I ran into Jasper within the hallway. He got here from Alice, room. Oh, Jasper, critically, inside the center of the day. Cannot you two simply control yourself for as soon as to your lifestyles? Oh, Edward, relax. I was there with Bella. What did he say? Bella, my Bella. At the same time as he became relationship my sister. Oh, this man turned into going to be so useless. I already rolled my sleeves up, getting ready to knock this guy to the floor. Whoa, wait a minute, Edward. Not like that. I comfortable. Critically, what is with you human beings today? Am I that unreliable? I can't be depended on. Geesh, you all suppose I am dishonest on Alice. But come on, how dumb could I be if I did that? I nodded. He turned into proper. However, what had been you doing with Bella then, in Alice, room? Jasper shrugged. Simply talked to her. I checked out him like he become nuts. Yeah, you need to try it once. Women are in reality something in case you take some time to get to know them and to actually talk to them. They may be actually wonderful. Bella is too, he hinted and walked away. Communicate to Bella. That would be weird. When I used to be with her, all I wanted to do was kiss her. Press her towards me. However, to talk to her. That was new. I decided I desired to attempt it. Speak to Bella, I mean. How might you do this? It wasn't clever to that if Alice became there, or anybody else for that count number. They might simply act absolutely stressful. Wait, I may want to communicate to her now. Alice changed into not here. Bella become alone. I should just walk in and begin a verbal exchange. I knocked on the door, being a bit insecure for now not having a plan. Alice, I requested, as I opened the door. Bella's appropriate eyes locked on mine as she said, Alice isn't here. For a moment I could not say whatever. I was simply staring into her eyes. Oh, properly I was searching out something. I concept it turned into in her room. I wanted to hit myself. I need to by no means lie again, given that I used to be this bad at it. Oh, nicely what are you seeking out? My self-belief. I have dropped it somewhere. Nothing honestly important. Only a few papers she said she might provide me. A bit information about something not absolutely crucial. It would not count. Bella checked out me unusually. Okay, she stated. Nicely, I could assist attempting to find it, if you want. No, it's okay. I'll simply wait right here for Alice. I suppose she ready soon, besides. Bella nodded, but I could see her awkwardness. Unless, you want me to go away. Because I ought to. Go away, I suggest. No, you may live. If you need. She stated, however she blushed a bit. I smiled at that sight. Okay then. I'll wait. I will wait until she's prepared. And that I understand I meant Alice, however actually, I supposed Bella. EPOV. So, We agree. We'll do that, then. I heard my brother's voice, but it felt like he was miles away, shouting, but I could hardly hear him. Edward, could you please pay at least some attention? I know that's usually not your thing, but this time, we're talking about you. That should normally get your attention, right? So would you please, for once, take your eyes off Bella? Emmett stood in front of me now, so I had to hear him. I sighed. Fine, Emmett, but if you want my full attention, you shouldn't discuss it with Bella over there. He nodded and Jasper agreed with me. He's right, Emmett, we should have thought of that. Fine, fine, Emmett said, and we walked away from the living room to Emmett's room. Edward, I don't know if you heard any of what we discussed before, but Jasper and I think that you really like Bella. Not in the usual way you like girls. You like her, a lot. I nodded. That's correct, but she doesn't like me. Thought of that, I sighed. I think I should just, I don't know, give up. But Emmett and Jasper immediately shook their head and started protesting. No, don't do that, bro, Emmett said. You can see he doesn't have a lot of experience with the ladies. Excuse me, I said to Jasper. Well, sure you have some experiences with those immature girls at your school, but Bella is a complete different kind of girl. You have to do this in a different way. How? I said. Look, we'll help you, right, Emmett? Jasper asked my brother. Emmett shook his head and Jasper turned to face me again. It will work out. Don't worry. BPOV. Bella, stop it, Alice said. What? I asked, not knowing what she was talking about. We were watching a movie. I picked on out with the hottest guy possible, but he wasn't the same as Edward. I mean, Edward was really hot. Like, really good looking. So while I was watching the movie, my eyes sometimes slipped to the place where Edward was sitting with Jasper and Emmett, and I would look at him instead and pretend that he isn't the most terrible guy the first no. Because it was really a lot of fun to look at Edward. I recently discovered that I could even understand a little why Jessica liked him. Not that I could ever possibly like him, but maybe Jessica and Edward could be a couple. If he'd do second dates. Alice sighed. You know what I mean, Bella. I mean the looking at a certain guy all the time. Well, he's on TV, so I can't really help it, I protested. What did I do? She was looking at him too, right? Alice rolled her eyes. Not him, Bella, and you know who I mean. Her eyes flashed towards Edward and I finally understood. Oh, I said and I blushed. Well, I was just curious as to what they're talking about, I said, trying to lie, but knowing it wouldn't work. Haha, good one, Alice said without laughing. I'm serious. So am I. Bella, Alice said. Fine. I sighed and turned my eyes to the TV again. I saw Edward, Jasper and Emmett leave and head upstairs. At least I wouldn't look at Edward again. We finished watching the movie and I was really tired. I wanted to go to bed. Alice apparently felt the same way. We put off the TV and quickly went upstairs to crawl into our beds. I closed my eyes and felt how I fell asleep. Bella, Alice whispered in the dark. I didn't open my eyes. Yes, I whispered back. You know, nobody would be surprised if you and Edward went out once, she said, her voice still quiet. We all think you should, actually. Alice, I said, still whispering. I know, Bella. You don't like him. It was quiet for a few seconds. Except that you totally do. She added, and after that I fell asleep. Bella, I heard a voice say. Bella. The voice was far away. I could barely hear it. Wake up, Bella. And then there was light. Okay, well, I opened my eyes and saw the light above me. It was just a lamp. What is it, Alice? I asked with a sleepy voice. After I had opened my eyes I quickly closed them again. I had such a good dream. Bella, open your eyes and look at me. I did as she told. Alice stood in front of the door, all dressed. Why are you dressed? Are you going somewhere? Well, yeah, see the point is Jasper sort of asked me if I could go have breakfast with him at the lake, and well, I mean, if you don't want me to, I totally understand. No, Alice, it's fine. Really, you should go. Okay, well, you should have breakfast, though. It's all set up downstairs, but I'm sorry, most of the family already ate. I swallowed. Oh, that's okay, Alice. I'll just have breakfast by myself. She nodded. Okay then. Well, before you go downstairs, I would change if I were you. If you want you could take some out of my closet, top shelf, you'll find my nicest clothes. Since yours are all used. I nodded. Normally I would never, ever wear clothes that belonged to Alice, but this time I had to. I had nothing left to wear, it was kind of my own fault. And a little Alice, fault. See, we sort of, maybe had a food fight while wearing 3 different kind of outfits. Maybe it was an idea not to do that in the future if I had a limited supply of clothes. Bye. See you, Bella. I'll be back before lunch, I swear. It's okay, Alice. You go have fun. I smiled and she smiled back before leaving out of the door. I stayed in bed for a few minutes, but after that I couldn't bear the hunger anymore. I had to eat something. I walked over to Alice's closet and looked at the top shelf. She did have some really beautiful clothes. Normally, I don't really care about clothes, but when I reached out to grab a gorgeous blue sweater I felt how incredibly soft it was. I also found a cute denim skirt that looked beautiful. Luckily I'd shaved my legs. I brushed my hair and put on the smallest amount of makeup anyone has ever used. My stomach got really loud right now. I was so hungry. I put on my shoes and walked downstairs and quickly went to the dining room. Alice was right. Breakfast was all set up, and the room was empty. I sat down and prepared my breakfast as fast as I could. I took a huge bite that would take a while to swallow. And of course, with my luck, Edward came in just as I put the bite in my mouth. Hey, he said, with a surprised tone in his voice. I quickly covered my mouth with my hand and waved with my other. I wanted to bump my head against the table. Hungry, huh? Edward asked, making himself a sandwich. I nodded and finally swallowed. Yeah, a little, I said, probably blushing. Edward smiled. Me, too, he said and took a big bite himself. I had to laugh a little at that sight. Good, I answered and started eating myself again, too. So, did you have a good night's sleep? Edward asked. I could feel the sincerity in his voice and his expression. Yeah, a little. I fell asleep as soon as my head touched the pillow. I joked and Edward laughed. How about you? I asked. It was okay. Couldn't sleep though. My mind was thinking too much. Wow, never knew it could do that in the first place. I stared at him in shock. Whoops. Did I say that out loud? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. I should really stop saying things at all. Well, apparently, I never knew it either, he said and I laughed as I blushed. I'm sorry, I apologized. It doesn't matter, really, he said, and winked at me as a joke. I smiled back at him. Again he took a bite of his sandwich, not as huge as the last one, and kept looking in my eyes. Normally, I would find this very scary, but now it had something calming. He looked at me with a friendly look, one I haven't seen much. So, do you want to work on the project together this afternoon? Or not? I had to think about that. Sure, why not? I answered. Good, you know where to find my room. Let's say, around 3. And then he smiled and walked away. Sure, I said to myself, knowing he or anyone else couldn't hear me. BPOV. Oh, Bella, Alice sighed. We were sitting in her room. She had just gotten back from her date with Jasper. It was so romantic. He was just so perfect. She couldn't stop smiling. I could see how happy she was, just talking about him. I could only imagine the happy feeling she got when she was around him. Alice, that's amazing. Really, I'm so happy for you. Alice gave me a big smile. She wasn't able to stop. And I wasn't going to make her stop. It felt good seeing her this happy. So do you want to do something this afternoon? She asked me. She felt guilty. I could see it in her face, for not having breakfast with me. It was totally ridiculous, because of course she could have some time with Jasper. I would see Alice in school all the time. Jasper, I'd been told, just finished high school. Sure. But I'm supposed to work on the project with Edward at 3. So, maybe we could do something until that. But I don't know if that's a little short. I bit my lip, making the guiltiest face I had ever made. Nah, it's alright. We can just hang out here, or maybe we could grab some lunch together. She suggested. Yeah, seems like a great idea. Just the 2 of us? I asked, just to be sure. Yes, just the 2 of us. Great, I said, and we both smiled and hugged each other. This is delicious. Alice said. I nodded in agreement. You said it. This is delicious. It's even better than that place I went yesterday. The place I went with Jacob and Edward. Which I will never, ever do again in my life. Are you finished? Alice asked me. I looked at my plate. Yeah, I'm full. How about you? I've had enough, too. Wanna go home? Yeah, let's go. We grabbed our coats and walked away, to Alice's car. We talked a little bit, not really having a conversation, but we were just making small talk. So, you'll go to our school again tomorrow, right? I asked Alice, changing the subject we'd just talked about. Yes, I can't wait. Tomorrow you will see me again walking around the school. We both laughed. I really missed the sight of her walking into the cafeteria for lunch. That's great, Alice. I've missed you so much. It's great you're coming back. Do you have some classes same as me? I don't think so. I've chosen the same subjects I used to have, and we didn't have one class together. Her voice sounded sad. Right. Well, I've got the same subjects too, so I guess we'll just see each other at lunch. But at least I don't have to listen to Jessica whining all the time about a certain guy she dated. It's really getting on my nerves. Alice laughed at that. I can understand why. She laughed. It would probably annoy me to death, too, if I had just Jessica to listen to. But what happened to Angela? Angela and I used to always sit together at lunch. Well, we're still friends and all that, but she's dating Ben now, so she's always with him. Ah, she's dating Ben. That's really sweet. Yeah, they're really cute together. But it means I'm kind of stuck with Jessica. She always wants to talk about Edward, saying they're in love and stuff. Seriously. And if she's not talking about Edward, she wants to gossip. Like I even care. I sighed. I'm glad you're coming back, Alice. She smiled. I'm glad too. I missed Forks. I couldn't help but laughing at that. Okay, well, the people who live in Forks, she corrected herself. Better. I said. Alice parked the car, as we arrived at the house of the Cullens. I got out of the car and walked towards the house. But as I opened the door, I froze. Jacob. I managed to get out of my mouth. What was he doing here? Well, okay. I sort of had a date with him, and we could have had a good time, if it wasn't for a certain guy. Hey Bells, he said. Bells. Since when could someone call me Bells? I did not like that name. However, I had other things to worry about now. But come on, Bells. I preferred Bella. But, Bells was better than Isabella, I have to say. What's up? I closed the door as Alice stood next to me. She waved at Jacob and he gave her a nod. I just wanted to say bye. I'm going to leave again, for my school and stuff. I nodded. Of course, he didn't live here. But I'll probably come back a few times. I've seen La Push now and I realized how much I miss it here. I nodded again. Okay. Well, bye then, I said, trying not to sound impatient. It was nice meeting you and such. I hope we can talk again sometime. I hope so too, Bella. He walked forward and gave me a piece of paper. You can call me, if you want. I hope you do. He smiled at me and stepped back again. Maybe I will. If you ever want to talk, you know where to find me. I was joking, but he took it seriously. I know, he said. He doubted and then gave me a hug. Hopefully I see you soon. He said goodbye to Jasper and Alice, and looked at me one more time. Bye Jake, I said, and we smiled at each other. He waved and walked outside. I sighed. So, Jasper and Alice laughed. Well, it's a little over 3, aren't you supposed to work on your project with Edward? Alice said, raising one eyebrow. Oh right, I said, and quickly ran upstairs, hearing Alice and Jasper laugh behind me. I rolled my eyes and went to Edward's room. EPOV. I saw the door opening and a face appearing. The only face that could make me a little weak, the only face I could dream about every night, the only face I wanted to see right now. Bella's face. Hey, she said. I'm sorry I'm late. She looked a little guilty. I had a plan with Emmett and Jasper, so I pretended like I hadn't counted the seconds until she would be with me, like I didn't watch the clock every 10 seconds, hoping I miscounted. Oh, are you late? I said, with my talent for lying. I lied a lot at school. Most of the time to girls, pretending to like them. They always fell for it. But I don't know if they really believed me, or just really wanted to go out with me. Well, I think I am. But maybe I'm not, Bella said, and I couldn't help but smiling. She seemed so innocent and so adorable. So, do you want to start with the project? Bella asked, and I nodded. I didn't really want to. I'd much rather sit still, do nothing but talk to her, look at her, analyzing every move she made. But I didn't say that to her, she'd probably think I was crazy. But still to work on the project instead, that's kind of a bummer. Sure, let's begin, I said. We grabbed the books we needed, and I turned on my computer to search for the information we would be needing. I helped her answering the questions we got from our teacher. She knew almost all the answers, except for one. It was the sweetest thing I ever saw. Bella, sitting behind my desk, her hand in her hair, thinking about the questions. I smiled as I looked at her. She turned around and looked at me. What is it? She asked. Apparently she saw me smiling. Nothing, I told her, but this time I didn't lie very convincing. Edward, she asked. Well, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Bella looked at me, apparently not understanding what I was talking about. About yesterday. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come with you and Jacob. I don't know what that was yesterday. I didn't act like me. Bella smiled now, knowing what I was talking about. Thanks, Edward. You really shouldn't have come, but I have to admit, it was also my fault. I offered, thinking you wouldn't accept. I shouldn't tempt you, she joked, and winked at me. I played along. Well, no, you shouldn't, indeed. Your offer was just so tempting, I couldn't refuse it. We both laughed. I understand why, Bella said, and we laughed again. But I really am sorry, Bella. I added, serious again. For that and for a lot of other things concerning you, of which you know what I'm talking about. Bella gave me a little smile and nodded. Bella, I know this is too much to ask, and I know there's only a small chance, or none at all, considering what I did to you, but can you ever forgive me for what I've done? I asked, looking into her eyes. She quickly looked away, thinking about my question. Then she raised her head and looked at me again. Edward, she started. I don't know if I can. I looked at her and nodded. I understand, I said and turned around. But maybe, we will continue in next part.